what's actually happened is they want to kill down, so the population is reduced to 500 million, and so that would take the population down to 3.95%. And 3.95% is the percentage of pedophiles, child sex abusers, homosexuals, lesbians, and bisexuals.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the same people occupying the European Union and the ones who are compromised in the British government. Right? So they're trying to kill every heterosexual male on the planet and every heterosexual female on the planet now that they have their own ability to do high-tech alternative breeding.
Okay. So have you...
I mean, it's scary. It just gets scarier and scarier. It gets more and more 1984. It gets more and more dark. It gets more and more...
Mad Max.
Satanic Mills is the British name for it. Satanic Mills.
You figured that out today, Greg, those numbers. You put those numbers today together.
Yeah, just when I was walking down, because, you know, I call it, I have a meeting with General Lazy. That's where I just do nothing and I just switch my head off and I do whatever it is that I do. And then the good ideas pop in. And then I go, aha, and I try to remember it.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot to do on that project, and then we'll keep you posted on that.
Of course. So,
some of the information is really heavy, you know, and this particular meeting we did yesterday, it's really heavy stuff. But it's do or die.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the reaction from the British public, Greg, from that has been very, very strong and very aggressive. Everybody that understood it has said, oh my God, I can't believe they're trying to do this. What are we going to do? We're with you. Send us the documents. Tell us what you want us to do. Yeah. So we're already building an army of the public.
Someone suggested to me today that I set up a table in front of the Buckingham Palace gates and with papers there for people to come up and sign, and they'll just film the whole thing live with people coming out signing, and, you know.
Do you understand that word, shill, Anna? Do you know what it means?
So you got your questions. I haven't seen them. Dave Mahoney said he sent them to me, but
no. Those are the things that are making people think on, especially the two Jesus situation and information. I'm sorry, excuse me. The two Jesus, and many people ask me, even important people that I contact. Important, I mean people that work and study and have long history knowledge, even the occultist knowledge. And they said, tell me about the two Jesus, Anna, because I can't understand. So Greg, please help me here.
Which part?
What's that?
Which part of the story, though?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, the thing is, I told everyone, guys, we have to wait part 1, 2, 3, and everything. You want everything in 1 minute.
Well, I'll give you an example, just to make this clear. I got a question today about what evidence is there that the two Jesuses left the Middle East and went to Portugal. So that you can ask that question, but the entire story about the whole two Jesuses, you'll be here for about an hour and a half with Greg. I'm sorry to jump in there, buddy, but I know.
It's quite right. But also, what I want to do is I want to get Mahoney back over to England so that we can do a 4K film footage on the more sensitive stuff. Because some of the codes are actually in the landscape, and the way they do the royal marks and the codes is you have to be there and see it in different light in certain seasons. Like, for instance, Mont Saint-Michel, the island coming out of the rock in France, its season is autumn, right? And that's the code for it. So you have to go there in autumn to see the marks. That's when they show up, right? Now, with the royal marks that, you know, I've photographed in that, you have to grab them and move them around and rotate them and see them in different lights, and then hold them up to the light to see what they are, you know. And for instance, the signet ring of the King of Hanover, I put it on double sticky tape sticky tape, and then moved it about 5 degrees at a time and kept photographing it in the sunlight. And then we got all these different colors out of it, right? And that was, you know, part of the mark of it. The thing about the Jesus in Portugal mark, I just found it by accident yesterday, and it was a 2016 BBC program where it shows a roll. It's a pottery roll, and when you roll it out, it produces the letters P-O-T and then the XP Christos symbol, right? And that was the wine label of Jesus in the Algarve, right? Yeah, so that was kind of interesting. So the Algarve's in the south of Portugal, and the Algarve's known as an energetic bed of excellence, kind of meaning that the whole of the Algarve is one giant ley line, right? So it's just huge, massive, not like telluric energy is what it is. And so when they were moving, when the king of Portugal was moving Jesus' body from Milru to Silves, the Mahdi, which is the Arabic leader, got the king of Portugal and handcuffed him and put him in a boat and put Jesus' remains in there as well. And the king was handcuffed. So when he came 16 kilometers up the river to Silves, he was standing in the boat handcuffed. So everyone's looking at the king handcuffed by the Mahdi, and they didn't take any notice of Jesus' body, right? And then the king of Portugal was, he was actually the king of the Portuguese, the people. And when they put Jesus' body in Silves, say, Cathedral, they changed it from the king of the Portuguese to the king of Portugal. So from the king of the people to the king of the land. And that's a huge mark. I mean, that is just enormous. To have such a massive change in kingship, something massive had to happen. So that was in 1150. And then word got out that Jesus' remains were in Portugal somewhere. And Jesus' remains is a massive kingship mark. You can basically become the king of any country, or the king of Europe, or the king of the United Kingdom with Jesus' remains. So there were wars, about 3 or 4 wars in Portugal for absolutely no reason from 1807 to 1834. There's 3 wars, and even Napoleon was involved. And they were looking for Jesus' remains. And what happened was, from Say Cathedral, you could go to the military castle behind, and then there was a well, and then you could climb down the well, and there was a tunnel, and you could walk into the tunnel down to the bottom of town near the river, and not be seen, right? So while they were doing that, they decided to have a spontaneous ceremony whereby everyone would put a candle in their window, right? In their windows. And when you put a candle in your window, you can't see out, right? So if the tunnels were blocked in any way, they could carry Jesus' body through the streets and no one would see. That's brilliant. So simple. The plan is so simple. And then the Catholic Church confirmed that it was Jesus' remains by tying them with a green and red ribbon. That's the mark of the Catholic Church, green and red, right? And then they were presented to us in 1850, right? To show that we were the kings of the United Kingdom, Portugal, Europe.
You're talking about the Rosicrucian? Is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm not talking about, nothing to do with the Rosicrucians, no.
When you said we, who are you talking about?
I don't want to say, actually.
All right, okay.
Yeah. Save stuff for the video.
Quick question here something just to interject. Is there any connection with the word Portugal, Portugal, Portugal? Any connection with the word grail in the word? From the Holy Grail?
Go on, Greg. It's for you.
Oh, you're asking me? Yeah. It's a bit Partridge family here. You know, you're below and another one's up. Okay, right. Yes, yeah, Portugal's port of the Grail. So when Jesus, or the two Jesuses, went to Portugal, it was to the port of the Grail. And where Jesus lived in Milru, it was actually a port. So when you were filming in Milru, it was quite high up. It was about 40 meters high, and you're looking down onto the sea.
Yeah.
What's unique about that area is about every 400 years they have a massive earthquake, and the ground moves up 10 meters, right? So it's done that about 4 or 5 times since Jesus was there. And the river that used to come into the harbour at Milru is now called Rio Seco, which means dry river.
Dry.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So, so the Marshall Bridge is now, used to go over a port, and it's now going over the dry river. But it had a port there, and it also had a spring. And the spring used to feed the grapes, and it actually literally turned water into wine. Right.
But this is.
Go on. Sorry, Anna.
I mean, it's fantastic.
But this was the Jesus that lived in Portugal, and the other Jesus went to London.
They both lived in
Am I
Portugal.
right?
Yes, but they both lived in Portugal for about 3 to 4 years.
Where they wrote the Revelations together.
Yeah, and they were how do you put it? One might have been inspired more, and the other might have been ascribed more. So, Queen Victoria spent £1 million in her day, so that's now times that by 100. So, I don't know, £100 million. Researching whether she was descended from Jesus. And what her very expensive historians found out was that there were 2 Jesuses who were third cousins. And if you've got one, so they had the same great grandparents, but one was 2 generations of 30 years, and the other one was 3 generations of 20 years. So they were second cousins, but because of the generations, they were third cousins, and they were psychically really close. So they could work together as one. So they, one could be in Portugal and the other could be in London and England, and they were still in communication. Plus, there's homing pigeons. They're then carrier pigeons, and they've been used since about 3,500 BC, and they could carry messages from Portugal to London in a day if they needed to have written messages. I mean, that's been going on for...
We used them a lot during the war. We know that. But yeah, interesting that. So Port of the Grail.
Port of the Grail. Yeah, absolutely. And
so the whole country was named after that event then?
Of course, David.
Yeah. Cool.
Could be. And the Algarve was known as Osinoba, which I took to mean plenty of fish of some size.
Yeah.
Right. But the Greek writing of fish is exactly the same as the Greek writing of mysteries. Right. So it's plenty of mysteries of some size. Yeah. Mysteries.
So, yes, I understand.
So plenty of great mysteries in the Algarve. And that was the name of it, Osinoba, until about, I think it was 710 AD, when the Romans left and the Arabs took over. So Moors? Yeah, Moors.
Yeah. Yes, Moors. So that's why you said all the books will have to be rewritten from now on, because the main understanding of Jesus that we have is from Catholic Church. And everyone, that's why I fight. Everyone is beating on me and on you and on David because of that, because we are bringing new information and making people think. We will have to open our minds and expand on knowledge and everything. And also, it's a question, another question related to this. Where is Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene in this new perspective?
Yeah, that's very interesting. It's all very related. Now, Jesus built a water temple, and he's one of the first people to build a water temple. And it's just, you were at Milru, you know, the big structure with the round back wall made of bricks. That was actually a water temple with water inside, water outside, portico, and then water outside again, full with tiles of fish. A couple of those fish are now extinct. And what you do is you walk into the temple and you basically have to paddle in. And then the apse at the end was covered in grey cement, which is waterproof cement. And that's where Jesus' body was, on a rack sort of, you know, this high with logs underneath it. So if anything gave away, the logs would still float the body. And it was covered in gold, unglazed gold mosaic, plus glass mosaic and another material, another type of mosaic. And the gold dust would gently fall off onto his bones and preserve his bones. That's what gold does. Gold preserves bones. And then in the 1600s, the Catholic Church went in and stripped all the mosaics off his temple walls.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, so you're saying, well, doesn't this go against the Catholic Church? Not really. They destroyed the evidence.
Yeah.
They destroyed the beauty of it, a lot of the beauty, and stopped it being a place of visiting. And when I published the books in 2014, Catholic Church, well, actually, Stoy Palace next door, 800 yards away, 700 royal yards away, they bought Volume 5, which was the one on Jesus of the Algarve, and Catholic Church then closed down Milru for 2 weeks and investigated.
All right, really?
And then the next year they changed the Easter Friday celebration in Sills, where Jesus' body was, to try and obfuscate my discoveries.
Well, right,
that's huge. That's huge. And that's the way the Catholic Church acknowledges things, is by cover up.
Yeah.
As we know.
Finish about the I have to see what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to keep your questions clear and keep him on track so he gets the questions answered. So tell us how Mary Magdalene and the Mother Mary, how they fitted into all this story. Were they in the Algarve as well? Did they stay in the Middle East? Do you know? I mean, you told me.
They live next door. They live next door. Between Milru and Lule is Pilgrim's Way.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a 12-kilometer walk to Lule, and in Lule there are 3 absolutely huge springs, so much so that they fill up 3 Olympic-sized swimming pools constantly, and they have a massive outdoor swimming area with diving boards and training, and because there's just so much water coming out of Lule, and the whole of Lule is Marian. Right? Marian. Yeah. It's the presence of Mary is absolutely there. It's just more than anywhere else I've ever been. Lule is the most Marian town I've ever been. And when you go to the center of the town, there's a big roundabout. There's a huge brass statue there of 2 women.
Okay, so Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary, yes.
And then there's a bit of swirls around them. And on the edge of the town is a huge church to Mary.
Wow.
Right?
If we keep asking, it will be even mind-boggling, more and more mind-boggling. Like, you know, in a good way. I'm sorry, in a good way, because it makes us think and research and think of ourselves. That's the main situation now.
So when you the thing about Lule is it's imbued with the Marys. And when something is imbued with the Marys, it shows up in nature, right? So in the middle of the university there, which is a very Spanish-Portuguese building with covered walkways with thick columns and arches all the way around and at the top, and a grassed area and a huge tree in the middle, which is we call it a Norfolk pine, or it could be like a monkey tree. It goes straight up and it's got sort of kind of gnarly bark. And there are two women in the bark naturally, about this high and about this level, contemplating together with an ellipse around them. So they're just sort of like this, two women together, just contemplating together. And it's in the bark, right? And then further up the tree, about 4 meters up the tree, there's a hand like this, exactly like this, in the bark, pointing to Milroo, pointing to Pilgrim's Way and to Milroo to go and walk that way, right? I mean, it's just fantastic. You know,
It is.
On the way in between, there is, if you can look at it from Google Earth, there is a man in a cosmic egg about 1.5 kilometers across, right? So you see in the old medieval paintings, you often see a cosmic egg, and it might be that shape with a bit of a tail to it, yeah?
Yeah,
so
I've seen it.
I don't know how to do it with my hands, I can't do it.
Kind of a
so
cue.
that shape, you're kind of like a Q actually, with a guy with his knees up around his chest, heading in the direction of, right? And it's called Cosmic Egg. And that is actually in the landscape, in the Algarve between Milroo and Lule, right? And that's where the Book of Predictions was. And what the modernists have done, what the progressives have done, what the industrialists have done, is they've turned it into an open cast mine and mined his head. So you don't know what he looks like, right? And luckily, my ancestor Sir Walter Raleigh got the Book of Predictions out of the mouth of the giant in the cosmic egg, which was the Book of Predictions, right?
Yeah, and
Just goes on and on.
Yes, it goes on and on and on, and I'm sure you have the blood. In fact, you have the blood of all this.
Yes.
You have inside of you. And as you mentioned, Mr. Walter Raleigh, Sir Walter Raleigh, and his relation to Anne Boleyn, which was one of my, as I told David, one of my greatest character that I love, that I inspired myself.
All women love Anne Boleyn. I don't know why they like her so much.
I like, yeah, let me tell Greg directly. I love even more Mary of Scots, okay? But Anne Boleyn has a special place in my heart, and she made me a strong woman.
Yeah. Anne Boleyn was in charge of bringing the Christian mysteries from Europe back into England.
Yes.
And she was the person who first got the Old and New Testament in English printed. So Old Testament, New Testament in English together, printed and bound. That was Queen Anne Boleyn. She did that around 1525. And when I said in one of my interviews that I'd completed the last page of Revelation, except for the last line, which basically says, this character may do all these things, and he's all this, and this is how he looks like. It's exactly like me. And then it goes, right at the end, it goes, but even then, Jesus Christ might turn up. You know? So that's what it says. It's a real cliffhanger. The Bible's a real cliffhanger. and then, so I said that I'd, on a radio show podcast, that I'd completed Revelation. And then Donald Trump gets his Bible from the Hebrides and walks out of the White House. He's already filmed. People are running in front of him, filming. He's just ignoring them, just walking through them. And he goes to St. John's Church, street number 1525, and holds up his Bible.
So 1525 relates to Raleigh, right?
No, 1525 was the year that Queen Anne Boleyn, more or less the year that Queen Anne Boleyn created the first Old Testament, New Testament in English, bound, printed.
Oh, wow.
So he was acknowledging that I'd completed Revelation and that I was a descendant of Queen Anne Boleyn, and that he also said, Greg, his DNA is great, in one of his interviews, And he said, it's fantastic.
And she wrote, and in one of her prayer books, she wrote, time will come, le temps viendra, in French. So time has arrived, right? Yeah. 2020, welcome to the revolution.
Yeah.
I'm a very QAnon girl, so I always try to connect and to. That's why we are talking today. Yeah. Q. Yeah, of course. I saw the Q. I have a guy here in Brazil, Felipe, who does all the research for me and with me, and he told me, Anna, we have to pay very close attention to those guys. They are always giving us information and giving us the way, but we have to think for ourselves. So they are very clever. We have to move on with them. So 2020, yeah, 2020, and the women in Brazil ask if you're married and if you have family. Can you imagine that?
I was a solo dad.
Okay, so no family, yeah, is that so?
Well, obviously I raised children if I was a solo dad.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
now I'll be the dumb. Now I'll be the dumb.
I don't want to say too much because they tried to kill them in a tsunami. The New Zealand government tried to kill them in a tsunami. They're actually in the tsunami and underwater, and it's a 4-meter high wave hit them at 40 miles an hour, and they're underwater, and all the debris gave up to die, pinned against a blue car underwater, gave up to die, getting beaten with all this metal and debris and that, and then relaxed into death, and then floated up to the top and got on some debris, and then got onto a palm tree, and then got on the leeward side.
Where was that, Greg? Was that Thailand?
Samoa, 2009, and then waited for the second wave to come, and then got out and then walked about 300 yards and then to the hill, and then walked up the hill, and by that time it was about 9 a.m. and everyone's driving to work on the hill road, and all of these people were walking out naked and bruised, yellow, purple, black, brown bruises all over them, just walking out of the bush onto the road, and then everyone was picking them up. Going to work was picking all these people up and taking them to hospital, and 2 of the 4 hospitals had been destroyed.
Brazil,
yes,
he's not married.
He's not married. Okay, but he's a clever guy, and we have to improve our standards to keep with good questions here. Okay, as we are good questions, as we are not down here in Brazil. So, as King of England, no, not at all. As King of England and Prince Regent of the United States, how Greg will act for both countries, and especially why is he so important to Brazil? Because we have a messy country and we need someone to carry on this subject. This is the exact question. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's North America though. It's not the United States though, Greg, isn't it?
North America. Yeah, they
Well, it's actually Prince Regent Duke Governor of Septentrionalis, which is the north, which became North America. But Septentrionalis is also codification for 3 sevens, or 7 thrice, which is 777, which is the number of the end times that I've been representing. And here it is here. It's horizontal there. I mean, it's it's turned 90 degrees, but that's your 777 there. Basically, it means that all of this is supposed to come around at the end times New Age. I just happen to get all of the marks for representing the end times New Age and be selected to do it. And it's because Queen Elizabeth I gave North America to Sir Walter Raleigh, and then the royal mark for that was passed to me. Sir Walter Raleigh got Jesus' Book of Predictions, which is the real revelation. And he got that, and he concretized the whole book into 1 page, and then wrote the name of the person who would represent the end times New Age, and he wrote J. Hallett. Right? Okay. Yeah. And then drew my cave, and said he'll be here when he represents it.
So,
and